The man accused of planting pipe bombs in Washington, D.C. the night before January 6 will remain in custody for now. 30-year-old Brian Cole is looking to be released from pretrial detention. His lawyers argued he is not a danger to the community and has not made any attempts to flee or fight court orders. A federal judge today said the case is complicated and will make a decision, quote, expeditiously. CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane is following this for us from our D.C. bureau. Scott, you were there. What happened at the hearing?
A marathon hearing between 2 and 3 hours over this matter of whether Brian Cole of Woodbridge, Virginia, should be held in custody until trial in his case or released under home confinement and restriction until his trial in the case. The judge said it was so complicated an argument and such a complicated matter, he couldn't decide today and will decide likely in the coming days as early as tomorrow or Friday. But what's not lost on anybody in that courtroom today, Lindsay, is this is a historic case. And these images, the ones you're seeing here, from roughly 5 years ago, were a notorious set of images in American history. Somebody putting pipe bombs near the Republican and National Democratic and Republican committees outside the Capitol in the hours before an insurrection. This mystery bedeviled federal agents for nearly 5 years, and they finally landed on Brian Cole. They argue he has confessed in this case during an interrogation, and they made that argument today to hold him in pretrial detention, but his defense team argued at length today that Brian Cole has no criminal history, has no history of defying court orders, has been idle the last 4.5 years since the bombs or detonated devices or undetonated devices were placed, and that he's safely released to his home under home confinement. Judge didn't decide immediately, but we expect it ruling expeditiously in this matter. It is a high bar, Lindsay, to hold somebody in jail pre-trial.
You touched on a couple of things. Let's focus on a little bit more. Prosecutors saying the suspect confessed here. What impact could that have on the case? And the defense attorneys, sorry to interrupt, the defense attorneys are also arguing about Brian Cole's developmental state. What can you tell us about that?
I'll start off with the alleged confession. That is the mother's milk of evidence. That is the holy grail, if you will, of what prosecutors want to have to bring to a judge and bring to a jury. At this point, it is an alleged confession, but it's also pretty much the only evidence they argued today in court. That and some purchase receipts for items consistent with the components of a pipe bomb. The defense didn't speak to whether this was a true confession or an untrue confession. They didn't get to that argument. They won't during a pretrial detention hearing, but the validity of that confession is going to be critical moving forward. The other matter about his developmental disability. Defense attorneys today said he is a acute person on the autism spectrum. He has an acute variety, and that is something that may be germane to his ability to function in pretrial release, but it certainly could be an argument they make as a function of their defense in a criminal trial. And that is an issue we're going to have to monitor closely in the weeks to come.
Scott MacFarlane, thank you so much.